3 hours before he was supposed to say I do. He heard the sentence that shattered everything. I slept with 2 men yesterday. The words slipped through the bridal suite door like poison in perfume. Laughter followed, bright, careless, unbothered. Champagne glasses clinked. He stood frozen in the hallway, one hand still lifted, knuckles inches from the wood he had planned to knock on gently. The air left his lungs. For a second, he convinced himself he misheard. Weddings are loud. Rooms echo. People exaggerate. But then a voice came again, unmistakable, confident. Relax. Once we're married, he'll never leave me. More laughter. Applause. A joking cheer from someone inside. And just like that, the man who had built his life around loyalty felt the ground shift beneath him. He had loved her in a way that felt old-fashioned in a world that mocked devotion. He had believed in partnership, in showing up, in building something steady in a culture obsessed with temporary thrills. He paid off debts without announcing it, supported her dreams without keeping score, defended her name in rooms she would never enter. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, but he was solid, and now he stood outside a door, listening to the woman he was about to marry treat betrayal like party gossip. His chest burned, but his face remained still. Inside, someone asked, "Does he suspect anything?" A reply came, "Quick, he trusts me." That's his weakness. Weakness, that word echoed louder than the confession. For a brief, dangerous moment, rage rushed through him. He imagined bursting in, demanding answers, watching the laughter collapse into panic. He imagined the humiliation reversed. He imagined chaos, but he didn't move, because anger is loud, and loud men are easy to dismiss. He had grown up watching men like him be painted as unstable the moment they raised their voices. He had learned that composure was power, that dignity was armor, that sometimes the strongest move in a room was silence. So instead of exploding, he listened. Each careless sentence stacked onto the next, details, names, jokes about how easy it was, how marriage was security, how love was leverage. Every word cut deeper than the last. The hallway felt smaller. The music from the ballroom below drifted upward, guests arriving, families celebrating, 2 communities believing they were about to witness a union built on trust. He straightened his jacket. He adjusted his cufflinks. And for the first time, that day, he stopped feeling like a groom and started thinking like a man who had just been handed the truth. Inside the room, the laughter swelled again, oblivious. Outside the door, something in him shifted from heartbreak to clarity, because what he decided to do next wasn't impulsive. It was calculated. Asterisk, long before this hallway, long before the laughter, long before the sentence that split his world in two. There was a man who gave her everything. He remembered the night she cried over her student loan balance, the way her voice cracked when she said she felt trapped before her life had even begun. He didn't hesitate, he didn't negotiate. He rerouted his savings, postponed his own plans, and quietly paid it off. Not for leverage, not for applause, but because partnership, to him, meant removing burdens together. He remembered the small business she dreamed about starting, the late nights at the kitchen table sketching logos, the doubts, the fear. He invested not just money, but belief. He worked his full-time job and then stayed up helping her build inventory lists, draft emails, map out marketing plans. When her first order came in, he celebrated like they had won a national award. He remembered standing beside her in a hospital corridor when her family fell apart. The silent drives, the paperwork, the phone calls she couldn't bear to make. He absorbed the pressure without complaint. When she broke down, he steadied her. When she panicked, he reassured her. He was her calm when everything else felt unstable. And when she described her dream wedding, the flowers, the music, the venue that overlooked the city lights, he listened. He didn't roll his eyes at the price. He didn't minimize the vision. He worked overtime, cut expenses, made it happen. He believed love was construction, brick by brick, promise by promise. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. The late-night girls' nights became more frequent. Her phone turned face down on the table. Passwords changed. Conversations ended abruptly when he entered the room. When he asked gentle questions, her tone hardened. "Why are you being insecure? You're overthinking, don't ruin this with paranoia," he told himself. Trust meant patience, that independence meant space, that love meant not controlling. There were moments, small, sharp flashes when his intuition whispered that something was wrong. A canceled dinner that didn't make sense. A text notification she swiped away too quickly. A story that changed in minor details. But every time doubt surfaced, she redirected it. "You don't trust me." And he would retreat, ashamed of even wondering. He believed in partnership. She believed in opportunity. He saw a future built on shared sacrifice. She saw stability she could secure. Back in the hallway, her voice cut through his memories like a blade. "Once we're married, he'll never leave me." There it was again. Not guilt, not fear. A strategy. He leaned against the wall as the truth settled into place. This wasn't a mistake made in weakness. It wasn't a moment of confusion. It was calculation wrapped in confidence. Inside the room, someone asked if she felt bad. Her answer came without hesitation. He's lucky to have me. Lucky. The word felt heavier than the confession itself. He thought about every sacrifice, every quiet act of devotion, every time he chose understanding over confrontation. He thought about the times friends had raised subtle concerns, and he defended her. He thought about how easy it had been to dismiss red flags when love made excuses. Convenient. And somewhere beyond this hallway, beyond this wedding venue, beyond this single relationship, there were thousands of people who knew this feeling, who had ignored instincts, who had rationalized warning signs, who had mistaken manipulation for misunderstanding. How many signs do we excuse in the name of love? The music downstairs grew louder as guests filled the ballroom. Families mingled, cameras flashed. A celebration waited. Inside the suite, laughter continued, careless, confident, certain of control. Outside the door, he stopped feeling heartbroken and started feeling aware. He wasn't the weak one, he was the informed one. Informed men don't react, they respond. His phone felt heavy in his pocket. For a moment he stared at the door, at the space that separated illusion from reality. He could end it now, walk away, cause a scene, cancel everything, but that would be emotional. And emotion was exactly what she expected. Instead of canceling the wedding, he made a phone call. He didn't cancel the wedding. He adjusted his tie, lifted his chin, and walked back into the ballroom like a man who had heard nothing at all. Guests greeted him with applause and handshakes. He smiled, thanked them for complimented suits and dresses, posed for photographs with steady hands. If anyone searched his face for cracks, they found none. His composure wasn't forced, it was deliberate. When her father approached, emotional and proud, he embraced him firmly. "Take care of my daughter," the man said. He held the eye contact a second longer than expected. "I will," he replied, voice calm, measured, unreadable. Behind the scenes, something else was unfolding. He found his best man near the back entrance, away from the music and the noise. The friend had known him since college, knew the way his jaw tightened when something was wrong, knew the silence that meant storm. "What happened?" the best man asked quietly. He didn't rant, he didn't curse. He simply repeated the sentence he had overheard, word for word. The best man's face drained of color. "What are you going to do?" He pulled out his phone. Earlier that morning, before he walked down that hallway, there had already been doubts, subtle instincts, enough to make him preserve certain voice messages she had sent the night before. Messages that confirmed what he heard was not a joke, not contextless banter, but confession layered in arrogance. He handed the phone over. The best man listened, closed his eyes, nodded once. "You're sure?" his friend asked. "I'm sure." No shouting, no smashing glasses, just clarity. The slideshow presentation sat loaded on the reception computer. It was supposed to be harmless nostalgia, childhood photos, first dates, engagement pictures, the polished version of their love story. He had spent weeks preparing it. Now, he spent 15 quiet minutes editing. He didn't fabricate, he didn't distort, he simply rearranged the truth. He inserted what already existed. A voice clip here, a timestamp there, context that could not be denied. When he stepped away from the laptop, nothing about his posture betrayed what had changed. Meanwhile, upstairs, she laughed with her bridesmaids, confidence glowing, makeup flawless, certain of control. She practiced her smile in the mirror, the one she would use when saying forever. She had no idea the definition of that word was about to shift. Her mother noticed something during the ceremony rehearsal, a stillness in him that felt heavier than nerves. Mothers sense storms before they break. She studied his face when he reached the altar. It was composed, yes, but distant, focused. The music began. She walked down the aisle, radiant, triumphant, unaware. Guests stood, phones lifted. The official spoke of commitment, trust, unity. Words floated through the air like decorations, beautiful, decorative, hollow. When it was his turn to speak, his vows were steady, measured, almost philosophical. He spoke about dignity, about truth, about the foundation required for something to last. A few guests exchanged glances, sensing depth beneath the surface. When it was her turn, she smiled brightly. "Forever," she said. The word landed softly. His eyes didn't move. Rings were exchanged. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Two families cheered for a future they believed had just begun. But beneath the applause, a different story was moving quietly toward its reveal. At the reception, he shook hands, cut the cake, raised a toast. If anyone expected visible rage, they were disappointed. He moved like a man fully in control of himself. Silent strength radiated more powerfully than any outburst could. A guest whispered to another, "He's unusually calm." The best man stood close, tension coiled beneath his suit jacket. He understood what was coming. He also understood there was no stopping it. Now dinner ended. Glasses clinked again, celebratory this time. The MC took the microphone. "And now, The announcement rang out, a special slideshow prepared by the groom, a tribute to their love story. She beamed, squeezed his hand. "You're so thoughtful," she whispered. He met her gaze. "Evenly, I believe in transparency," he said. The lights dimmed. Conversations quieted. Chairs turned toward the large projection screen at the front of the ballroom. The soft hum of the projector filled the space. On the screen, childhood photos appeared first. Innocent smiles, family gatherings, a montage of beginnings. The audience relaxed. Laughter bubbled at awkward teenage haircuts and outdated fashion. Then came the first date. The engagement. The rehearsed happiness everyone expected. Her confidence grew with each slide. She leaned into him, unaware in the back of the room. Her mother folded her hands tightly in her lap. The best man exhaled slowly, and then the sequence shifted. A still image lingered a second too long. The music faded slightly. The transition was subtle, almost unnoticeable, until the audio began. Her voice clear, unfiltered. "I slept with 2 men yesterday." The first clip played, and within seconds, the entire room fell silent. The first few seconds feel harmless. Childhood photos fill the screen, scraped knees, birthday cakes, family barbecues. The room softens. Laughter returns in cautious waves. Then engagement memories appear. Sunset proposals, glittering rings, staged kisses that once symbolized promise. Vacation clips follow beaches, city lights, filtered happiness framed as destiny. She smiles, shoulders relaxed, confident in the narrative unfolding exactly as planned. Then the music fades, not abruptly, subtly, like air leaving a sealed room. The image freezes on a photo of them clinking champagne glasses during their engagement party. The lighting flickers slightly as the next file loads, and then it comes her voice, clear, unmistakable. "I slept with 2 men yesterday." The sentence hangs in the ballroom like smoke at first. Confusion. A few guests assume it's a joke, an editing mistake, a strange blooper. But then the rest of the audio follows context, tone, laughter layered with arrogance. "Relax, once we're married. He'll never leave me." The silence that follows is violent. Gasps ripple across the room in uneven waves. Chairs scrape against polished floors. Someone drops a fork. Conversations die mid-breath. All eyes turn to her. Her smile collapses. Color drains from her father's face as if someone flipped a switch. His proud posture folds inward. The bridesmaids who laughed hours earlier now stare at the screen, frozen, exposed by association. One of them whispers, "Turn it off," but no one moves. The projection continues for just a few more seconds, enough to remove doubt, enough to erase plausible deniability. Then the screen goes black. He remains seated, still, composed, breathing evenly. He doesn't rush to the stage. He doesn't point. He doesn't glare. The power in the room has already shifted without him saying a word. She stands abruptly. "This is out of context," she says, voice cracking. "This is private. You can't." But the room isn't listening to her anymore. It's watching him slowly. He rises. Each movement feels deliberate, measured, the kind of calm that commands attention without demanding it. He walks to the microphone while the murmurs swell around him like a gathering storm. He doesn't look at her. First he looks at the guests, friends, family, elders who crossed cities to celebrate, young cousins who believed they were witnessing a fairy tale, parents who invested pride and resources into this union. He adjusts the microphone. "I deserve honesty," he says, voice steady, carrying effortlessly through the stunned ballroom. "And today, so does everyone else." No shouting, not insults, no revenge-less fury, just truth. A few people nod unconsciously. Others stare at her, searching for denial strong enough to undo what they just heard. She steps forward, desperation rising. "You're embarrassing me," she hisses. "We can talk about this privately." He turns to face her now, expression not angry, just resolved. It stopped being private when it became a strategy. He replies quietly. That word lands harder than the audio did. Strategy. Her composure fractures. "You're overreacting," she says, louder now, grasping for control. "It was a joke. You're ruining everything." But the crowd has already decided. Phones begin to rise. Not maliciously at first, instinctively. People record moments that feel historic, shocking, unbelievable. Whispers spread across tables. "Did you hear it clearly?" She said it herself. He stayed calm the entire time. Within minutes, clips are already being sent to group chats. Social feeds refresh. The ripple has begun. Her father approaches, her face lined with disappointment deeper than anger. "Is it true?" he asks. She doesn't answer. That silence answers. For her. The bridesmaids who once laughed now avoid eye contact. A groomsman shakes his head slowly. An elderly aunt murmurs, "He handled this with grace." Grace. That is the word that defines the moment. He reaches for his ring. The room holds its breath. He slides it off carefully, without theatrics, without shaking hands. He walks to the head table where their wedding cake stands untouched, Pristine. Symbolic. Unnecessary now. He places the ring gently on the white tablecloth. Not thrown. Not slammed. Placed. A. Boundary drawn without violence. He looks at her one last time. There is no hatred in his expression, only clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when illusion dissolves completely. I hope you find whatever you were looking for, he says. It is not cruel, it is final. He steps away from the table, walks past stunned guests who instinctively part to create space. No one tries to stop him. No one dares reduce this moment to chaos. Because this isn't destruction, it's accountability. The doors of the ballroom open as he exits, and for a second the outside air rushes in. Cool and grounding behind him, the room remains suspended. In shock, a celebration. Turned into revelation. Public exposure without cruelty. Dignity. Over destruction. He did not humiliate. He illuminated. And as the whispers turn into headlines, as the footage begins its journey beyond these walls, as narratives form and sides are chosen, one truth becomes undeniable. He walked away with his self-respect intact. But what happened after the wedding shocked even him. Asterisk. Act V. Resolution. AFTAF. EX Section 5. Revenge. Full redemption. Weeks later, the ballroom moment still echoes far beyond those walls. The clip circulates everywhere. Not because it was loud, not because it was violent, but because it was controlled. People replay the silence before the audio. They analyze the steadiness in his voice. They slow down the frame where he removes his ring and places it gently on the table. Comment sections fill with one recurring word: dignity. Public opinion settles quickly. He stayed calm. He didn't insult her. He exposed the truth and walked away. Messages flood his inbox. Strangers thank him for saying what they never had the courage to say. Men and women confess they ignored warning signs in their own relationships. Some call him strong. Others call him disciplined. A few call him cold, but almost everyone agrees he was justified. Meanwhile, the consequences ripple outward. Bride's social media accounts shift from curated perfection to damage control. Friends quietly unfollow invitations to collaborative projects disappear. If she once relied on image, that image now carries an asterisk. Whispers trail behind, her name in spaces that once celebrated her. Her circle fractures under the weight of divided loyalties. Some defend her privately. Others distance themselves publicly. The laughter that once filled the bridal suite is replaced by silence, and yet, in the middle of all the noise, he does something no one expects. He refuses every interview request. He declines podcast invitations. He ignores the offers to tell his side for profit. There is no tell-all video, no monetized breakdown, no dramatic livestream replaying the humiliation. He does not attack her online. He does not post screenshots. He does not build a brand out of betrayal. Instead, 1 week after the wedding, he posts a single statement. No filters, no hashtags. Never trade your dignity for temporary comfort. That's it. No names, no accusations, no revenge tour. The statement spreads anyway, because it reframes everything. What happened that night wasn't vengeance fueled by ego. It wasn't cruelty disguised as justice. It was exposure through truth. He didn't ruin her life. He revealed a reality and allowed consequence to follow its natural course. His real victory wasn't public applause, it was prevention. He walked away before signing a lifetime contract with deception. He chose discomfort in the present over misery in the future. He absorbed the embarrassment once so he wouldn't absorb betrayal forever. And in a culture that often celebrates spectacle, that choice feels almost radical. Loyalty still matters. Self-respect is power. Silence can be stronger than shouting. Justice doesn't always require rage. Sometimes the loudest statement a person can make is the refusal to stay where they are not valued. The world eventually moves on to the next scandal, the next viral clip, the next headline designed to shock. But for him, the moment becomes something else, a line drawn, a lesson learned, a boundary reinforced. He didn't destroy anyone, he chose himself. And in the end, that was the part no one saw coming. Because sometimes the most shocking revenge is simply choosing yourself.